The suburb of Minnetonka felt like a universe away from the fluorescent hum of my office. It was a Tuesday evening in late October, the kind of night where the cold, crisp air promised an early winter, and the streetlights cast long yellow shadows on the fallen leaves. I was finally heading home after a brutal project deadline, the clock in my car reading 9:07 p.m. As I reached into the back seat for my laptop bag, my fingers brushed against something soft and foreign. My hand froze. The texture was undeniably silky, an alien sensation against the utilitarian upholstery of my sedan. I clicked on the dome light, and there it was, a whisper of a secret laid bare on the seat, a coil of red lace lingerie, tangled like a forgotten firecracker. My heart, a moment ago beating a steady rhythm of exhaustion and relief, plummeted into my stomach. It was the color of a warning light, the hue of an unignorable stop sign. The fabric was a complex weave of silk and delicate French lace, clearly expensive. It was not Rachel's size, not Rachel's style. My wife, the pediatric nurse with an unwavering preference for cotton and comfort, would never wear something so theatrical. The sight of it felt like a physical blow, a shard of ice splintering in my chest. In that instant, every tiny, unremarkable detail of the past few weeks replayed in my mind like a slow-motion film. Rachel's late nights at the hospital, her tired smiles, the way she would fall asleep as soon as her head hit the pillow. I had attributed it all to the grueling demands of flu season at the children's hospital. Now, seen through the distorting lens of suspicion, each detail took on a sinister new meaning. I sat in the car for 20 minutes, the engine still running, the heater blowing warm air against my cold hands. The lingerie seemed to glow in the dim light, a silent, damning piece of evidence. The simplest, most brutal explanation was screaming in my head. Rachel was having an affair. The quiet life we had built over 8 years of marriage, the shared dreams, the laughter, the plans for children, felt as fragile as the lace in my hands. I felt a cold, unfamiliar rage begin to simmer beneath the surface of my heartbreak. When I finally went inside, Rachel was already asleep, a serene expression on her face that only deepened my despair. I barely slept, the image of the red lingerie a constant loop in my mind. By morning, a fragile resolution had formed. I would not confront her, not yet. I would not allow her to deny and lie and twist the narrative. I needed proof, something irrefutable. My mind immediately went to my high school friend Marcus. He worked at the state crime lab, a quiet, brilliant man who dealt in forensic analysis and the cold, hard facts of the universe. I called him during my lunch break, my voice carefully neutral as I explained my absurd request. I told him I'd found some fabric in a second-hand item and was curious if a DNA test was possible. He was intrigued, but professional. "Bring it by after hours," he said. "If there are any biological materials, skin cells, hair, anything, we might be able to get a profile." "But Trevor," his voice softened, "are you sure you want to know?" I was sure. The agony of uncertainty was 1,000 times worse than the potential truth. I needed an answer, no matter how devastating. That evening, I met Marcus at the lab. He handled the lingerie with the clinical precision of a surgeon, wearing gloves and using tweezers. He examined it under a microscope, his face a mask of concentration. "There are some hair fibers caught in the lace," he noted, "and some skin cells on the edges. This could work." He placed it in a sterile bag. "It'll be about a week for the results. Don't call me, I'll call you." That week was a descent into a private hell. My home, once my sanctuary, became a stage for my silent surveillance. I watched Rachel closely, dissecting her every move. Her tired sighs became signs of a burdened conscience. Her affectionate touches felt like a performance. The most agonizing moments were the innocent ones. The way she would rest her head on my shoulder while watching a movie, or the warmth of her hand in mine as we walked the dog. I would pull away slightly, the suspicion a constant, bitter taste in my mouth, and she would look at me with a questioning glance that I could barely meet. I was dissecting our marriage, looking for the cracks, the signs of rot I had been too blind to see. On Thursday morning, a week to the day I had found the lingerie, Marcus's name appeared on my phone. My hands trembled as I answered. "You need to come in," he said, his tone unreadable. "The results are interesting." I drove to the lab in a blur, my mind racing through every possible outcome. When I got there, Marcus was waiting, his expression sober. He pulled up the DNA analysis on his computer screen. "The biological material came from a female," he said. "But when I ran it through our database for any matches, something very strange came up. The profile shows a familial match to someone already in the system. Your wife, Rachel." My mind reeled. "What does that mean? What's a familial match?" "It means the DNA belongs to a close relative of Rachel's," he explained. "A sister, a mother, a daughter, someone who shares a significant portion of her genetic markers." The puzzle pieces fell into place with a sickening thud. The logic of the situation, the cold scientific fact, was a gut punch far worse than my initial suspicion. It wasn't a stranger, it was family. Rachel's sister, Brooke, had been staying with us for 2 months. She had moved back to Minneapolis after a difficult divorce, and her presence had been a source of quiet tension in our marriage. Brooke was everything Rachel wasn't: dramatic, needy, and a master of emotional manipulation. She was also exactly the size and style for that lingerie. But why? What could she possibly gain from planting lingerie in my car to make me think Rachel was cheating? The answer came with a horrifying clarity. 3 weeks earlier, Rachel and I had a huge fight about Brooke's indefinite stay. I had told Rachel that her sister needed to find her own place, that she was taking advantage of our hospitality and straining our relationship. Rachel had defended her, but I could tell she was starting to see my point. Brooke must have overheard our conversation. This was her revenge, a preemptive strike to destroy my marriage so she could remain the devoted sister, the sympathetic confidant, and perhaps even move in with Rachel permanently after the inevitable divorce. I went home that evening, a cold resolve settling over me. Rachel was working a night shift, so it was just Brooke and me in the house. I placed the lingerie on the kitchen counter, its red lace a stark contrast against the white marble. Brooke's face went from pale to ashen. "Care to explain how your DNA ended up on this?" I asked, pushing the DNA report towards her. Her composure cracked. She tried to deny it, to claim it was a laundry mix-up. But when I mentioned the deliberate placement in my car and the timing with Rachel's schedule, she finally broke. "You want to kick me out?" she screamed, tears streaming down her face. "You're trying to turn Rachel against me, her own sister. I've lost everything. My marriage, my house, my kids barely speak to me, and you want to take away the only family I have left." The depth of her manipulation was staggering. She had planned to let me stew in suspicion for weeks, maybe months, gradually poisoning my relationship with Rachel, until I either accused her directly or became so distant that Rachel would start questioning our marriage herself. Then Brooke would be there, the devoted sister, ready to help Rachel through her husband's inexplicable betrayal. "I never meant for it to go this far," she sobbed. But she had. The expensive lingerie, the careful placement, the timing, none of it was accidental. She had been willing to destroy my marriage to serve her own desperate need for stability and control. The cruelty of it was breathtaking. I had the foresight to record her confession on my phone. When Rachel came home the next morning, I showed her everything. The lingerie, the DNA report, the recording. The look on her face was a mix of shock, heartbreak, and profound sadness. Not just by Brooke's betrayal, but by how close it had come to working. "I've been so stressed about work lately," Rachel said, her voice a raw whisper. "If you'd started acting distant, I might have thought it was my fault. I might have started doubting us." Brooke moved out that day. Rachel cut contact with her completely, a devastating but necessary step. The trust between the sisters was irreparably broken. For months, Rachel struggled with a profound sense of guilt, feeling responsible for bringing someone so toxic into our lives. We went to counseling, not because our marriage was damaged, but because we needed help processing the psychological manipulation we had both experienced. Our therapist explained that Brooke's behavior, the fear of abandonment, the manipulative tactics, the willingness to destroy relationships to avoid losing them, showed classic signs of borderline personality disorder. The most chilling part of the entire experience was how close it had come to working. If I hadn't gone to Marcus, if I had just confronted Rachel with the lingerie, our marriage might not have survived the accusations and suspicions that would have followed. Brooke had understood exactly how to weaponize my love for Rachel against our relationship. 6 months later, we learned she had tried a similar manipulation with her ex-husband's family, planting evidence to make his sister look like she was undermining their relationship. The pattern was clear. When Brooke felt threatened or unwanted, she would create chaos to regain control and attention. Rachel and I are stronger now, but we are also more cautious about who we trust. We learned a devastating but essential lesson. Sometimes the people closest to you are the ones most capable of devastating betrayal, because they know exactly where to aim their attacks. The red lingerie is long gone, but the lesson remains. When something seems designed to destroy your relationship, question not just what you are seeing, but who might want you to see it.